And now about our guest, we'll be speaking with Maia. In tonight's interview, we'll discuss with Maia as she goes on record about her experiences in such government projects and how even now she is on a quest to regain her memories and forge a new life on her own. Without any further delay, Otherworld Radio would like to welcome Maia to tonight's show. Hello, Maia. Are you with us?
Yes, I am. Greetings.
Greetings, Maia.
So how's the audio now? People hear me? Last time we had some problems, so I want to know, and don't want to continue until it is clear.
Yes, everyone can hear you very, very, very well.
Great.
Okay.
Great, the president.
I know, it's great. Before we start, Maia, I just want to say how it is as far as tremendous courage for you to come forward tonight and share with our listeners your story about your involvement in these projects. And before we begin, I just also want to give you that space as well. If there's any point where you don't feel comfortable in tonight's discussion answering a question, just let us know. I just want you to know that we do respect your privacy on certain things, okay?
I appreciate that.
Absolutely. So to start off tonight, what I'd love to ask you is to kind of get our listeners caught up from our part two, if we could, go over a little bit about your childhood and how that ties in to where you got involved in these projects.
Well, I just really have scattered memories here and there that have occasionally spontaneously bubbled up on me. And some things are like, to me, smoking guns. Things that I'd read about and look at and go, gosh, that looks like that might be true for me also, or something that I have no reference for, which I had memories at 19 spontaneously, because I was during the time of the Montauk Project, and I was having all sorts of panic attacks and missing time experiences. And I didn't know what I did, where I went. And I had a memory of being 4 years old, and it wasn't a very pretty memory. It was about being tortured, actually, or ritually tortured. And I had no context to place it in until I learned or rediscovered the Montauk Project, and also the Project Monarch, or Monarch Project 2, or Monarch Program, because this is before the Montauk Project. And I do have some of the desired traits that they looked for, such as specific bloodline. My bloodline comes through the Pendragon line and the dragon lineage, or partly, we're probably born on the wrong side of the sheets kind of thing. So they have that lineage, which, among certain lineages they looked for, and also it seems like I hear Aleister Crowley came from that lineage too. So he's like a distant relative of mine. And also, in the background of my family, on my mother's side and on her, the grandfather side, he was pretty much a card-carrying Nazi, as well as his brothers are in the SS, so there's the Nazi connection. That's some of it. And, of course, there was psychic abilities through my family as well. And I lived close enough in the area in New York State. And I'm hearing there's stuff that happened in New Jersey as well. That wasn't too far from there. And, there are all these anomalies. I mean, if I went into it, then that would be the recap of last show. And since we're going to kind of move on from there, I'm not sure. I can't go into all of it in depth.
Okay. Well, why don't we talk a little bit about, you brought up your family connection and about the bloodline. Let's discuss just a little bit about the bloodline itself. You brought up Aleister Crowley. Can we discuss a little bit about that bloodline and why that is so important for these experiments?
I'm trying to remember. It's something to do with the genetics. That there are certain latent tendencies in the bloodline. I guess certain psychic abilities that were desirable, and maybe it has to do with the propensity to be able to time travel. Things like that. Because I've had some anomalies in regards to myself. Some things if I had been not a mutt and only partial blind, it would probably be more pronounced. I can recount an incident where people in this bloodline, I guess those who go for the reptilian, off-world, interdimensional, whatever, having interbred with humans and all that, the David Icke stuff. Okay. And the eyewitnesses of those who have that kind of genetics. Okay. Sometimes would glow with a bright light, blinding white light. I've had it where I've actually, to myself, totally covered it, or have this golden light coming out of me. Where, usually when I'm in a heightened state, I had that at work. It happened at work once. I looked in the mirror, and I just couldn't see myself. I was just glowing golden. And somebody else, as I walked through the halls, there was other people who saw that. I had witnesses. And one person who would stop in mid-conversation and just stared at me. I thought his jaw was going to drop to the floor. So seeing this golden being walking through the hallway and not knowing who or what that was. And it was always, if I was in a heightened state, certain things would happen. So odd things would happen. So I had a number of anomalies, maybe passed down through the line. And, of course, I have my psychic stuff as well, some of which I can't really do anything with anymore. I used to be able to, but it was very scary for me. And I did have got that somewhat deactivated or put dormant.
Okay. So
it got crazy.
So let me ask you, kind of going back to the bloodline thing again, a lot of you were selected because of your genetic lineage. And they were, I guess, looking for certain DNA markers within your bloodline to, I would say, keep pure, I guess, in the Nazi sense.
Yeah, blonde hair, blue-eyed thing, too. Not always, though, I found out, Sometimes there'd be others, even different races being used. But then I guess in certain parts, they were very, very Nazi, yeah.
So their goal was to, if I understand this right, in order to do that, to keep the bloodline pure so that they could foster these psychic powers or these psychic energies within the children?
Yeah. I guess also, I think also it had to do with the so-called Nordic ETs. They say they have a certain ability to go interdimensional travel or something, a time travel. I read this a long time ago. Of course, I don't know. I don't know firsthand or don't remember firsthand. I don't even know if there really are Nordics. So I couldn't confirm that. I know there are others that are not from here, because that's my experience. But we can talk about that later.
Okay, yeah, we'll go there a little bit later. If you want to, we can talk a little bit about the ritual experience itself. You brought up the Nazi correlation and about there being, I know when we have talked privately, about there being a magical connection there, a ritual magical connection. Did you want to discuss that just a little bit?
Mainly in the, I would say, even before Montauk, usually in the Monarch Project, it always was that kind of the satanic ritual abuse type stuff, which is really, to break down that person and also to, I guess, co-opt them. So, once you've feel like you're being corrupted by something like this, you end up, I guess it kind of feels like shapes your life in a way that they want, in a sense. It's like, oh, you're this terrible, no good thing now. You're evil, and then you become something they like it twisted, I guess. You accept whatever is given to you.
Okay.
The punishments, it becomes like an S&M type thing, which is very unhealthy. It becomes a very unhealthy relationship.
So there's a lot of early childhood mind conditioning.
Yeah, and I've been told by somebody who I know is extremely top psychic that because of what he saw, he thought I was practicing black magic. And it's like, I really don't. I don't care for it. It just makes me feel sick to my stomach, but I still have alters, and one of them could be still involved because I have reason to believe that something's going on behind the curtain still.
So what they would do, from what I understand, Maya, that they would get these children chosen amongst these bloodlines, certain key families, from what I understand in our conversation, and put them through this mind control conditioning type program.
Yeah.
Right? And
especially those in power, A lot of the people you see, the royals in Great Britain are an example. But go ahead.
But they're, too, a part of that family bloodline that you're talking about as well.
Yeah, there's that connection, too, yeah. Yeah, because they came through the families came through the Pendragon line, and boy, got passed through that.
Yeah. Well, let's kind of go forward just a little bit about your indoctrination as far as your training and how you started to experience as a young girl these psychic attributes through this mind control conditioning. Do you feel comfortable talking about that?
Well, I really remember more towards my later years. Okay. I mean, I've had some odd stuff when I was a child, but it's like I remember so little of my childhood. I mean, really very little of it. And I just have to go by, the things I see, like pictures. And I have one that's kind of telling because I still think it's a smoking gun myself of when I was 2 years old. And it's one gal who's talked about the programs at childhood. I'm forgetting her name now, and she's a really outspoken one. And she had a picture of herself, and I have one that's very similar. And just showing how the pupils, the eyes, are dilated in bright light, indicating either drug use or use of electricity. It just indicates something was done to that person. And I'm not looking too happy. So I mean, pupils tend to contract in bright light.
This
is what you see, the kid being tortured right in front of you in a picture.
Right.
It hurts.
Right. Well, let me ask you this so that we can ground this for our listeners. What was their goal with these children as far as your participation as well, or this frightening, this terror that they would put you children through? What was the goal? What was the purpose for that?
Well, to recreate that child in their own image, pretty much. Make them part of the mind control family, to make very convenient altars for their use, so whatever they wanted it for, and lots of them if they want them,
So that
total absolute control.
So that would fracture your psyche.
Yeah, even prior to at 5 years old, the personality is fully formed. If they get it before 5, then that person's theirs. And it's really to co-opt the person and to make them what they want them to be, whatever it is.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about that as far as their goal? Why would they be fracturing specifically the girls at that age? What was their goal?
Well, to be used. I mean, prior to Montauk, it was they mainly had their uses as sex slaves, really, and for espionage, for and assassinations and things like that, to be used to maybe to get information from somebody. It's the old game, like Matahari. And I have to say it. Sorry, guys, but yeah, you can be fooled. Just using sex to get what they want and to compromise people. And the whole Black Widow thing. You make them fall in love with you and then drop them like a stone, and they get devastated. Done that. I've been used to do that.
Okay. So is this what they would call the Monarch kind of program?
Yeah, that part would be Monarch programming, though. Okay. I forgot there's like Alpha, Beta, Delta, and I don't remember which one signifies which.
Right.
It's because it's in print. It's there. I think it was Fritz Springmeier wrote about that part.
Yeah. You're referring to the author Fritz Springmeier.
Yeah.
About the Illuminati.
He wrote a lot of good stuff on that.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's kind of go forward just a little bit. So we've given our listeners a little bit about the bloodline. We've given our listeners about why that they select these children, how that they select these children, the mind control process at these very early ages, and how it relates to you. Let's go forward just a little bit to the time, I guess, in your youth where you start to come into your own abilities. Would you want to talk a little bit, going from there into how you were used in relation to the women's side of what we know as the Phoenix Project or the Montauk Project?
Well, I can only surmise from my scattered memories. Okay. Because a lot is still really down in that subconscious. I'm working on it. I can only surmise what I was used for. Well, certain things that came up. I know about the sex life thing was that definitely, because I was co-conscious when I took this trip to London, and that was happening. Wasn't very fun. And I'm not going into details because I think I talked about it already.
Okay.
And it's very difficult. And, it was to extract information from somebody and then break their heart because he fell in love with me. So, not being in control of oneself while some alter is in control is a very helpless feeling. And coming to terms with that, it seems even worse than somebody violating you from the outside. But I was, in my, late teens, I was very, very psychic. I used to be able to just think of, like I was very psychokinetic or telekinetic. I used to have things just go crazy, I thought I had a poltergeist. And things would just break, or as faucets would turn on after I turned them off. Things would just fly off the shelf or off a desk or table. Did it in front of somebody, too. It was funny. Things that didn't work would start working. Then I found out that it was me, and I could consciously sometimes even do it myself. I used to be able to just motion on a door and open or close it. But I experimented and found out that when I was calmer, I could control it to an extent and bring things to me.
Okay.
That, I don't have that, pretty much that ability anymore because that was, it was too scary. I was afraid I'd hurt someone. Because I felt I couldn't handle it. It was bleeding through. I guess one of my alters is was trained to do the psychic stuff. I also did telepathy, but I'm ashamed of how I used it. I'm not very proud of it because I used to be an invasive type, and used to, I just think at somebody to do certain things or not do certain things, and they do it like a freaking robot.
So you were very adept at remote influencing.
Yes, I found it during I found it in college because somebody was having a hypnosis demonstration, and I just decided to see if I could influence the person being hypnotized, and it was like, oh my God, he did exactly what I told him to do, not what the hypnotist told him to do.
Okay.
Yeah, and I just had all sorts of crazy stuff with that. I mean, and found out that's also what some Montauk boys could do. It's kind of interesting battle of wills when you meet a Montauk boy who can do it too, which I had to get free of because I would meet also Montauk boys along the way that were, I guess were not even assigned, I guess.
Okay.
It's part of the control.
Okay. Well, why don't we do this? We'll go back to a little bit where we were talking about your abilities. You mentioned telekinesis. You mentioned also remote influencing. Were there other abilities that you also realized at that age that you were able
there is some I don't think I want to talk about right now.
Okay.
Because,
right.
Believe it or not, I think I could get myself in trouble.
Okay.
Yes, I do have one that I still could actively use. I've used it in the wrong way. Now I've corrected that, and I wish I could talk about it, but
okay.
I'm doing it for my own safety here.
Okay. Once you can go forward, Maia, if you want to.
Yeah, there's one more that I'm still looking into, because that has to do with certain, what did I call them? I call them blinks, which I either have experienced either bilocation or teleportation. I am not sure which, but because there was also a time when I think I talked about when I was on this so-called healing session with somebody who, they had links to the Montauk Project. Well, what I was he was tortured by Duncan, actually. He had bad memories of Duncan.
And who is Duncan for our listeners?
Duncan Cameron, head psychic of the Montauk Project. He's in the books.
Okay.
And there was another gal who was helping, and she also picked up the whole thing from when I was a kid, the wounds from the session that I had when I was 4 years old. I spoke of. How'd she know about that? I didn't tell her. And then during this time, I found myself, on the cross point at Montauk, just like the guys, the Cameron brothers. Yeah, I was right there, right in the cross point, and it was daytime, and I was in my stocking feet going, what am I doing here? And it was just as real as being on the table. And then I willed myself back, and then I found myself going back there again. I was wide awake at the time. It wasn't the first time. I was the second time. So I don't see where that could have been hypnagogic.
Okay.
Something happened. I was trying to find this guy to corroborate. It turned out, though, the woman working on me was some sort of operative. So I'm wondering, I still wonder if she activated this ability. So how old were you at that time? Do you remember? Well, I was in my 30s then. That was in the 90s.
Okay.
So I was just drawn to that point again. It's like I was scared out of my wits then. I stand by that. Boy, that was really a vivid experience.
What is really interesting, Maia, from what I know, too, in our private conversations, is that when you're talking about the physical bilocation, is how that other people that I know of have said that they have witnessed you even disappear. So that
a fade out,
yeah.
partially fade out. That was Preston. You know, my hands wanted to stay in the room completely. I guess it starts with the hands, perhaps.
Let's talk about that. What is the physical sensation? You said it starts with the hands.
Well, it's just a feeling of electricity going to the hands. Pretty much, that's it. You know, you just put your finger in a socket. So it's very fizzly, and it just feels like every little particle in the hand is just coming apart almost. So,
okay.
And it didn't move anywhere else, so it was a fast one during the test.
Well, let's kind of go back just a little bit to kind of overview for our listeners. Everything that we've talked about so far. Let me ask you this. Through your whole process, did you feel like you had handlers who were guiding you in certain directions along your life?
Well, I consider my mother a handler. She was when she was alive, because she was not, you know, she was split. She was definitely two people.
So this is multi-generational.
Oh, yeah. She was like, I call her, what else? Ms. Jekyll and Ms. Hyde. And she definitely acted like a handler. And she, you know, some of the stuff she did, it just was hard, you know, things I can't even talk about. Just there was a lot of humiliation, quite a bit of it. And I know that there was abuse physically. I used to always duck if she looked at me funny. It was like she would repeat the programming, the Montauk programming, you know, like you're nothing. It's always you're lazy, you're crazy, you're stupid, you're nothing, you know, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. You know.
Well, let's don't get into that moment for you. Okay. So you say that your mom was probably your earliest handler.
Yeah.
Was your father as well?
I don't know. I don't remember, and probably I'm blocking it because I don't want to remember it still.
I understand.
Yeah, I don't think I could live with it. I usually use the fathers, and he also had, he was kind of an interesting character because of, both my parents had their psychic abilities. Okay? He used to be military, and, well, I should talk about that part. Yeah, my mother was pretty, clairvoyant. Like, for instance, she gave me a shirt that was part blue and part white. And, I washed it, and the blue ran into the white. So, shortly thereafter, gives me another shirt and says, this time the color won't run. It's like she saw the shirt. That she used to always find out where I was when I was hiding out when I was a teenager. Nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. And my father made a confession to me, like a few years ago over dinner. He told me I could project out of my body anytime I want to. And he was training little old ladies to do it, so if they were in pain, so they can escape the pain.
Did he ever tell you? Did he ever tell you, Maia, where he learned that to do that?
Never. I never had a chance to ask him. I was just too stunned. And then he told me, he's a UFO experiencer too. At Dulce, New Mexico, he had a sighting, and he never told my mother this stuff. And it tells me, and he used to laugh at me with her about my UFO and New Age beliefs. So. Yeah, everything's all split and, secret. And, my mother kept a lot of secrets, and we don't even know half of them.
Now, how did you guys end up in Long Island? Can you share that?
If you'd be more specific a little bit, when or...
Yeah, how did you guys end up close to Montauk, and how does that relate to Montauk and his background?
Okay, I just used to live a couple hours from Montauk, 2.5 hours, so it's pretty, within a day the day trip. But well, my parents did have transportation during that time. They had a plane, and well, I told you about the time I went out in '93. I talked to my father about it, and I didn't say this before, but I asked my father, did he ever fly out to Montauk? Because he used to do all these weekend trips. And he said, yes, he used to go out there and play golf. But this was when he wasn't playing golf, by the way. He played in the 60s and the 80s, but not in the 70s. And then I said, by the way, did I ever go out there with you? And the way he said no, he was very triggered. I can't say it right, or say it, but it was like he was emotionally triggered, and he wouldn't talk about it. So I think that was a yes.
Okay.
He was very disturbed by the question. That's very telling.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Let's move forward, Maia, if we can, to present time.
Okay.
So you've mentioned that both your mother and possibly your father was your earliest handlers, and we kind of substantiated the area where you lived and everything. To now, do you feel like you still have those handlers around you?
Well, here's the thing. I sometimes I'll go to sleep and wake up in the morning and I'll have wounds on me. And, I didn't have those wounds before I went to bed. I had, I woke up, and this was last year, I woke up with a large triangular burn on my arm. I didn't burn myself in the middle of the night sleeping in my bed, so something happened that night. And, I have absolutely no memory of it. And I've had it where also at times have found puncture wounds in my ears, and ears are bleeding, and I didn't have it when I went to bed. So that's an indication something went on.
Right. So
and I don't remember.
Well, do you remember
I feel
any?
disturbed in the morning too. I have this altar. Let me tell you, I have this
Okay.
altar. Just like somebody else described this too, as well. That is the one that wakes up when I go to sleep, and it takes the torture. And then, afterwards, I can hear the screaming in my head. It's very loud to me, and I know something went on. And it won't. This one won't shut up. And after a while, she will. But for a day or so, it's like hearing this loud sound in my head.
Are these experiences to you, Maia, are they like dreams? And number two, to that question, do you see anything in these states like animals or any type of screening?
Well, yeah. Back in the past, when I started having conscious UFO experiences, I dream about owls in conjunction with, UFO dreams. I had an abduction dream, and in it were owls. And owls usually are a cover for the other, or whoever they are, the Greys usually. And that's what I was dreaming about. So that's one of the things. Or, last night I had a dream about, those are my dreams. I had a dream about, being on one of these crafts and two tier of, like ETs or aliens or whatever they are. And it also was this crazy little animal that I never saw before in my life. And it was very furry, and it was bright orange and brown, and it was alien-looking, but it was kind of cute, and he spoke to me, and pretty much in the level, oh, pet me here, or whatever, what you would expect to hear from a cat or something. And, it started to feel normal, which is very weird, but, of course, dreams are like that. So, yeah, I dream about that sort of stuff, So I've had odd reactions from deer in the woods. Perhaps I don't know if that means anything. Oh, bears. Bears are a big one because I used to do is to do proactive CE5 UFO research in the past, back in the 90s, and we had bear experiences, sort of, where we have a bear scare, but it really was not a bear, things like that. And also was significant to Colin Andrews, because we did a joint little experiment with him while he was in England.
Oh, really?
And, yeah. And now I'm not totally remembering the whole thing, but just bear was very significant. And and then we had some oddities after that, because we got bear scare and ended up scrambling into the car real fast. It was like a comedy routine.
Well, if I can ask you, Maia, why do you feel that these screens are there?
I think it's easier to say, oh, I've encountered a bear, a deer, an owl, than saying, oh, I had this weird being. You know, it's less upsetting, perhaps, in case a person calmer. That's one thing, you know. And you go, okay, nothing to see here, everything normal, and then the screen stays up, and everything can be secret, you know.
Well, I think it's interesting in these experiences how that there is a soothing part, that they'll try to soothe you or they'll try to calm you. Why do you feel that that is in some of the experiences?
Huh? I'm sorry?
In some of the experiences you said that you had, like with the animal experience, your recent experience, why do you think that they wanted you to have that experience of calm, of soothingness?
So, want to go on with one's life, perhaps? Just like, 3D TikTok.
Okay.
Don't even look into it. And it maybe because they don't, if somebody wants to keep secret to, you don't want your presence to be known to consciously to a person if you're screwing with them.
Okay.
Those, if I, want to, you not to remember me, I think that's a perfect screen.
Well, do you remember past that through their screening? Do you remember past the experience to whatever message or whatever you were taught or shown?
What I remember is not so much what, those particular incidences, if they were, they just like kind of indicators that something had happened. But I've had it where I've, had sightings, had encounters. Am I off? Hello?
No, I'm here.
Okay.
I'm here.
Yeah, I wonder if I was off. But I, have had my UFO experiences as well, because a lot of, usually those who are involved with the project were also either abductees or experiencers.
Okay.
To have that connection. And, I've seen numerous, I guess, craft, and, very recently, too. I see them every now and then, triangles or saucers or even what look like 727 without the wings or the, jet pods and very low. I've seen what appear to be physical craft. And, I even up in Pine Bush, New York, I've been up there and around the Hudson Valley. And, some of the stuff could be more psychic than actual physical. Some of the stuff is like lights in the sky that respond, but I don't know because they're so far. There's no way to really tell. But
I have a question for you.
Okay.
What do you think is the synchronicity there with you and these children and these beings? What is the purpose of this?
God, I wish I knew. Perfectly. I tell you what I think. Purpose of the beings with children. Everybody has so many theories. I find it very confusing myself. For me, what I've experienced, like, for instance, I had this one where it was a healing experience. And I found myself on a table, and these white gray types were taking things out of my energy body. I mean, all this heavy crap, yucky stuff, and I woke up feeling like $1,000,000. It was amazing. So whether or not it really happened, that doesn't matter. It's the effect of it was incredible. But I'm trying to remember when I tried. I'm losing my train. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's okay.
Thanks for programming. Really,
Maia?
I had never consistently wrote.
Antara wants to ask you something real quick. Maia.
Okay.
I'm going to turn it over to Antara Davis.
Okay,
Antara.
good.
Oh, hi, Maia. This is Tara. One of the things that struck me as you're sharing your story, I was wondering, how, with your experiences being so intense and confusing and all that you've been through, so understandable, how have you found a way to heal yourself and bring light back into your life? Because it sounds like you're a very aware person. So, how have you brought yourself back to center, having such intense experiences?
Well, I've learned a number of things. The thing that I most consistently apply is meditation every day. Okay? I'm connecting with Source and my higher self and my friends in high places. It's really helpful. And during it, doing some healing on myself at the time, actually connecting to my core, which I believe is never broken. If it had, I don't think I would have had the will to live, because that really relates to the will to live. And I think that's why most of them, or all that died in this, died because their core was just shattered, and they lost their will to live. And I have at least some connection. I have support. I feel the support of people who are, I'm connecting out with people who are positive, and all right, drawing on your strength. It is. There are times when I really completely fall apart, and I just want to curl up and die, actually, when things really start bubbling up. And I just have to let it kind of pass. So, it takes a little while, and that's why I don't talk to anybody. But I am now attempting to actually use breath work to heal myself. That's one thing I think that actually brought up a lot of stuff. Back in the late 80s and early 90s, I was doing all this breath work, and I think maybe that's what brought up a lot of stuff regarding, and paved the way for all this Montauk stuff to come up. That's what I'm kind of remembering now, because that's what it does. It brings out cellular memory.
Right.
And so I'm doing more of it because it's also a healing thing. And even though I usually not supposed to do it solo, but I'm the only person that got on this, so I'm doing that. So
it's working for you.
Yeah, and I feel it.
I think it's really, really important that you're sharing the tools that you use to bring you, back into light and back into your center and in connection with your spirit. Because in these times, sure, the rest of us maybe not have had this intense, really intense experience that you had as a child, and but if you can do this, with your history, it's of course the rest of us can as well. And I also wonder, what is there a way that you've come up with as far as boundaries or protecting your energy?
Oh, good you brought that up. Yeah, I practice shielding every day. I've had to, because I've had attacks, on the psychic level, and especially when I first contacted Peter Moon, and after, within 48 hours, I was savagely attacked, really badly. Because it brought up memories, like, the chair and being underground and all this stuff, because the voice said, so you want to remember? And just brought all this stuff all at once, big jumble, and just overload. And I've had other stuff, too, come at, and it's like, okay, now I got to shield, that's it, because I've had my memories wiped, things like that. Oh, it wasn't fun. So I had, equivalent of mind rape. And Ben said, no more of this. no more, and I learned how to shield, and I've been able to fend off quite a bit when it's come at, and I'm still learning because they're calibrations. So that's innovative.
Can you discuss, Maya, the shielding process that you use? Is there a light that you invoke?
It's all each is personal, but one is using a mirror. But I do it in such a way the mirror is angled in all different ways, so you can, it's just my personal preference. And the Christ light is very nice, and the violet flame, and then the white light, too. All layered. I put it all in layers together. I create a program, and I call them the programs, so I'm invoking each layer. And so it's just one of those things. I have my own name for it, and I just call upon it. And then, that helps. And then also the boundary, if something impinges on it, I can really feel that.
That's fantastic. That must make you feel so much more empowered.
Yeah. So needing these little toys and tools until energy is built up where that's not needed.
Yeah.
Then you're the shield. But right now, I feel I'm still vulnerable because I still got all these weaknesses due to not being integrated. And attacks can come from within as well as without. That's the thing. I can't shield from that.
Well, what's amazing to me is that you still have these amazing qualities and spiritual gifts of bilocating, there's intuition, all those kind of qualities that the average person maybe does not have to the extent that you do. And of course, they were used for not good purpose, early on. But you still have these amazing gifts, and so I'm sure you've just come just so far as far getting yourself back on track, and at some point, maybe even now, you're able to use your gifts, positively with your good intentions.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping so. Try to keep my lower self out of it because and not do it through ego, which I did when I was like a child with matches when it first came up. Just the temptations were too great. And I was young and feeling rather, disempowered. We're trying to get power back, and not being very ignorant at the time. And I know that I had quite a few repercussions regarding my health, so I had to stop doing what I was doing. I mean, I try to control people. It comes from the gut. I mean, and yet that can really tear it up. Tell you, you end up having definitely physical repercussions, and it's just to caution anybody who wants to do it. Right. Don't. Please don't. And also, I would say, be careful what you wish for, because I made wishes, and this is what it led to. So it came true, and that was it's not a good thing to just randomly wish for something that seems so cool, but it really isn't once you get it.
Well, let me ask you, Maia, about the other girls. Were there other girls that you remember a part of the project that you were a part of?
I don't really have a memory of others in the project, whereas others might have a memory of me. But there were others that I met outside of it. I mean, like in Long Island, met one gal, I'm not going to name her, and she was supposedly still active. And she was really, really something I didn't want to really be around, actually. She was trying to befriend me, and I just said, no. I just did not have a good feeling, and the guys are testifying she was pretty much, Montauk Girl. And there were others that I have met or or just heard from, some who would claim that they'd had, like, liaisons with ET, reptilians there at Montauk. I can't confirm or deny any of that. And she wrote about her stuff. It was online for a while. There was this one, I think I could say the name of, Barbara Hartwell. She was a Montauk girl. And, she was there at the same time I was. And we had an interesting bit of interactions, where she knew somebody there that I had thought was just in my dreams and wasn't. And this is the person who helped me control my psychic abilities when I was having problems with it. After I had the series of dreams I talked about the last time, I think, where I was being trained to utilize my telekinetic ability in a way that wouldn't, break everything, okay, or hurt somebody. And it got to the point where, I was breaking things at first, and things were crashing, and I could see the equipment. It was like some of it was Army-type stuff. It was military. And towards the end, I was, just effortlessly doing the Yoda with big, heavy doors and things like that. And I was very calm inside. And, the guy behind me with the clipboard wearing the lab coat.
Okay.
It was like middle-aged, kind of with a Austrian or German accent. And she knew this guy. Actually, we finished each other's description of the guy. She knew who he was, didn't have his name, unfortunately. But she said, you can remember a guy like that. I thought that was interesting. So after that, I was not having those instances anymore, which was like, I was so relieved. And it just went away.
Well, let me ask you this, Maia. Do you feel that it sounds like these girls, they travel a bit and they kind of go within their own kind of circles to, it sounds like to me, monitor each other in a way. Do you feel that there are still Montauk girls out there today?
Yeah. I think so. Scattered. I mean, I've met a couple others also. One that even Preston Nichols acknowledged. She is there. And a few others that have had interesting experiences at Montauk. And I don't want to share because it's very personal to them.
Okay.
That there are only a few, but then again, I've only met a few boys here and there too. But it seems like wherever I go, there's at least one Montauk boy, and I've even ended up moving in a house with one. I didn't know he was at the time.
Maia, this is Michelle here.
Hello, Michelle.
Hi. I'm thinking about your experience of so many different things I can relate to and understand as a sensitive and a psychic myself and an intuitive. I used to work in 1990. I worked on an island called Saipan, and it's in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. Saipan is next to Guam, which lots of people have heard about. And in 1943 or 1944, the battleships arrived, and maybe 2,000 Japanese were on the island at the time. This was at World War II. And they landed 8,000 Marines there. And all the Japanese, rather than surrender, they'd heard horrible things would happen. They all jumped off of the cliff called Bonsai Cliff. 2,000 of them.
Ouch, like lemmings.
Yes. And so when I was there in 1990, I didn't know anything about that. But as a sensitive and able to see, freaking out at the dimensions of people, shadows, and so many didn't move on to the light.
Yes.
All on this little island only had 7 miles of paved road. And so a lot of what you're bringing up, I could see around me. And, of course, other people couldn't. So one has to maintain this world as you're walking and you're talking and you're doing your job and not be focusing. I mean, I remember seeing stuff going on around me.
Yes.
And so what I'm thinking as you're talking, I'm getting all of these memories coming up. These the other people that would work with me a lot of times would wake up with horrible bruises and cuts. And luckily, I was raised by my grandma, and she was the same kind of sensitive and always gave me ideas of how to work with it or just how to separate myself, maybe, or like you're talking about protecting ourselves. These dead that don't go on are a very low vibration, a low frequency. You know, they're the shadows in the corners.
And they need help.
In anger.
Yes, they need help too.
Yes, they die and they're so angry they don't go on. And they just wait for a chance to jump into somebody's body. When the person is sad or angry, the vibration goes really low. And you're right, the best defense that we have is learning to meditate, because when we meditate, we're the only ones in our body. When we meditate, the vibration gets higher. Our own natural shields become denser so that other lower vibrations can't penetrate. They can't come into us. Mm-hmm. Everything that happened on that island, I'm sure there's so many places like that, and where you were, how many wars were fought, and how many battles along that coastline in that area. Yeah, and you got those people, and they're just ready to jump in.
Yeah, and you remind me of my experience in Hawaii, or Maui, and it's so haunted, that island. And I just kept, kind of exercising, and exercising. And I think I had an attachment that I exercised too, because I came from this place that was supposedly had this very tragic story. You know, somebody killed somebody over a woman, and killed the woman too, and killed himself, or something like that. And I drove away, and I felt like there was possibly a presence, and it felt odd in the car. And I drove past this place that's selling roast pig, and I don't like roast pig. All of a sudden, I had a craving for roast pig. I was like, no, this isn't me. There's somebody possibly hitchhiking, and because I passed there. You know, I got sick to my stomach. I was getting nauseous all of a sudden, like I was getting punished.
But at the time, you can't.
I got rid of them, and then I felt better. You know, I had my way to do that.
The thing is that they're always around.
Yes. I've seen, like, shadow beings and things like that. Oh, boy. Yeah, I know that. And this haunted planet.
Maya.
I'm
sorry, Michelle. I was going to ask her as far as the experience out at Montauk, because it's Long Island, Montauk, you know, out there, about your experience out there. Why is that place chosen?
Chosen because it's an abandoned base, as well as a nifty planetary crosspoint that's quite powerful. You know, it links to all over the grid and the planet, and it can influence the planetary grid and also the subconscious of everybody here on the planet. And also there's power you get from it too. You can actually use that energy that comes through that point.
That's amazing. And that's what they told you? Or is that what
That's what I learned. That's what I learned. Also, what I've experienced for myself firsthand as well, because of my link to that area. You know, it's one of the few things I can see without even going there physically. So I can tell what's going on there.
So it's essentially a portal, a gateway.
Yeah, and it goes both ways, which is interesting. I see it go both ways. Sometimes it's inwelling, other times it's outwelling. It depends. It's a fluctuating point.
Did you want to tell our listeners about the experience that you had where we had all met up at Montauk about a year or two ago out there, and about what had happened in your experience out there?
You mean on the base itself, or just generally? Well, it's just what I perceived there was, it seemed to accumulate a lot of garbage, and I just kept seeing the energies as being not healthy for people.
Yeah.
And something that I learned, they look like little black shards, or that can stick to a person and cause a lot of havoc, which it seems like it did to some people. Because quite a few people got sick afterwards. And that's what it does. It just goes right in you. I learned this for somebody else. I took classes with Stuart Wilde, of all people, and I did see what he was talking about. And, I just because my third eye had opened up like a few years ago, and there's some things I could see, and some things that I saw in some areas, I didn't want to go back to the areas after that, and that includes Newark. Because I've seen that kind of stuff coming. Seen it coming from cell phone towers, which really, especially don't go to the train station in Newark, because you're going to get a load of that stuff raining down on you. It looks like a black dust. It's really a terrible energy to be in. So I refuse to go there anymore.
Where is that place? Where is that place?
Newark, the train station in Newark, New Jersey.
Okay.
And you probably get sick from it. People get sick from it. I mean, it's just all negative programming. Just stay away.
Oh my God.
And the equivalent like that, it was just so, on the ground there. It was just a load on the ground, and you pick that stuff up. And I went to clear it out later on. And I'm like the garbage person. So garbage.
All right. Thank you.
Well,
I was sick.
I guess where do we go now, Maya, as far as the journey?
Well, I haven't been told some of the other experiences I had, I guess. I could tell some really, let's see, did I ever talk about Brookhaven?
Well, why don't we do this? We are already past the top of the hour.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and take just a 3-minute music break. Allow our listeners, and we are back on Other World Radio live, as you can tell. And before we left, we were speaking with Maia, discussing the real story, Maia's real story, on the Montauk Girls. This is our Part 2 interview with Maia, and we've been speaking about so much with Maia, about her personal journey, about her struggles, and about her struggle to regain her memories and her own life. And before we left to go on our break, we were going to speak with Maia about her suggestion on Brookhaven. And I also want to turn the questions over to my co-hosts, Antara Davis and Michelle Hayward, to get some questions in as well. So Maia, take us to Brookhaven.
Well, actually, I was thinking I wanted to turn the tables just before Brookhaven.
Oh, okay.
On you, Sandra, because we had an interesting discussion, and it just, might, be of interest to people listening.
Sure.
And so you said you had some experiences and spotting me in the past, and could you tell them about that?
The interviewee.
The
interviewer. I wasn't expecting this one. The zingers of live radio.
Yes.
Well, Maia, I have seen you 3 times in my own past before we've been met, and that might sound a little odd to our listeners out there that are listening to this around the world. But I have met Maia 3 times in my past, in my youth. I had met Maia through connections through airports, and I traveled quite a bit. But it was an older version of herself, say in her late 50s, probably early 60s. And that realization came about when I met Maia the past 2 years ago, which Maia, it looks younger, but when I seen her, I immediately remembered seeing her through my travels, through airport connections and whatnot. So that's my tie to Maia. It seems that maybe she was there observing me.
Yeah, and I don't remember any of that. I remember being at one of those airports when I was younger. So, and in fact, that one of the times she told me about, you told me about. And, it's just, maybe I have a future then in time travel. Who knows? Yes, update at like the next few years, I guess. Okay, how much time do we have left, by the way?
We have, let's see here, let's look on the show clock, because I have many windows open over here. We have over 39 minutes to go.
So we have till 11. Okay. All right. Well, I don't think did I tell you about what happened at Brookhaven?
No.
Yeah, because
sure.
I have reason to believe that Brookhaven, even though it's being told, everybody's being told it was deactivated, it wasn't active during the main part of the Montauk project, that they phased it out, which I might say might not be true, because I, had this memory come up, but one of these bubble ups, ab reaction type thing, where I found myself talking to these three, two men, a woman. They were in their lab coats in this lab in Brookhaven. I was like myself, but not quite myself, so I must have been an alter speaking. That's the kind of feeling. So it was one of my personas speaking to them. But the thing is, the one thing I have to say is that there were subtitles. Because Brookhaven, June 1983 or something like that, July 1983. And I kind of called that a little suspect because, my memories have subtitles. Even so, I'd say that means I've been, terribly effed with. If that's an instrument, still something happened, was done to me. So I will go forward with this because there's a second memory in relation to this. But I was talking to them, or whoever it was I was at the time, was talking to them and saying, we have to stop this. It's gone too far. Too many children have died. They've been killed. And, I was using that as my think tank. And they agreed to help because they didn't know about it. They were ignorant of what they were supporting in their work. And then I said, okay, get back to Montauk now or they're going to miss me. And then this big portal opens up in the wall, and there's this little corridor that looks kind of like not so solid, like energy. And I just stepped right in. There I was back in Montauk.
Oh, my gosh.
And
how far away is that between those two places?
About 2 hours, 2 to 2.5 hours.
Oh, my gosh.
Within a split second, I was at the other side. It was like it was natural to me. And then I had another memory. While I was lying on the chiropractor's table, I was doing network chiropractic, which is more energetic. And then, it was just, it was after the session, I was lying there. And then this other memory of being in Montauk came up, and this was not a fun one. And I'm saying this because if they're real, I have to honor them because they sacrificed their lives. I don't want them to sacrifice it for nothing.
Right.
And this is in honor to them. Yeah. And so I had this memory of myself kind of not being able to move and watching these other three of them not being able to move, and this blondie boy, I seen the back of his head, long blonde hair, and it's like he was doing stuff to them psychically. He was torturing them to death, each one slowly, and one by one falling down, screaming, bleeding from their heads. And I was forced to watch. And then he turned around, and I recognized him. He was somebody who I had known, not too long ago. He was one of my housemates, and I had a relationship with him. And he was a Montauk boy. And now I know why he was like he was. He looked like a Nordic. And I remember that expression from when he was ill, and I was afraid of that expression. I didn't know why until then. So my suspicion, if it happened, it was a red herring to what was really going on. The real end of it. So, that's I just hope they weren't real. I hope it was a cock up in my was put in my brain. But if they were real,
Mrs. Antara, I'm wondering about efforts to cleanse the earth energy, and is Montauk inactive? In other words, can people go there and try to clear the energy?
Yeah, the Camp Here is a state park now. There's some restricted areas, but sometimes people don't honor that. I've seen lots of videos on YouTube where people have just gone into like the radar tower. That's restricted, but yeah, people just disobey. I disobeyed too when it wasn't a state park back in '96, and that was weird. But yeah, we were thinking, Sandra and I were having a little conspiracy of our own, thinking of having a little gathering out there, right?
Yeah, actually, we started this Montauk Healing with author Peter Moon and the Montauk shaman out there, Artie Crippen, 2 years ago, to go out to the morphogenic area out there at the grid to try to bring about this healing using positive, refined energy out there. And that was our first journey out there, Maia. And there is a gathering that we have plans on doing again this year. Because last year, Maia, did you want to share the experience that we all went through when we tried to do healing there last year?
Well, I was sick as a dog or worse when I went out. I mean, I had a severe cold, and I went out anyway. I actually wasn't planning going out at first, but then I felt like it was a very strong pull to go there, and I had to be part of it, and I had to represent an unrepresented demographic, because you had the Montaukers represented, it had people writing about it represented, and just general people going there, and didn't have people who actually were there. So as the actual were there, only one volunteering, and I had to be there for everybody else who wouldn't or couldn't be there. And so I was there. I was actually split between being at with everybody and being at the cross point and monitoring the energies. Because I do that. When I'm there, I'm on the job when I go to Montauk. I don't go to play. I go to do work. And that's pretty much it, even when I'm sick. And I actually stayed a day later and did clearing. I had my freakouts there, and Sandra was great help, really. It got me off some very high rocks. I don't do well heights. And we met the good Dr. David Lewis Anderson there, too.
Oh, my gosh. All the heavy hitters were there, huh?
Yeah. So he represented the time travel researchers.
Right. Wow, what a gathering that was fun.
Yeah.
Michelle, did you want to say something about the Native American ceremony or Buddhist ritual?
Well, I was still thinking about things that happen where thousands of people die. And they're all wandering together. They're not in their bodies, but they're still around here. The souls don't quite move on. And it really seems like that Brookhaven, it has the underground chamber. I believe it's the same one that Brookhaven Lab that is owned, and it's part of the American Physical Society, which is under the U.S. Department of Energy. Is that the correct laboratory? I mean, it's still in existence, and they've got so many different layers out there, and of course you've got entities that are in shadows and corners and waiting, in not quite knowing where to go. Yeah. In 2005, I lived in Thailand. In 2004, I was teaching in Thailand when the tsunami came, and in Thailand we had something like 200,000 people killed in one day and in one afternoon. The stories were amazing, the things that you could see. People going on about their business. They had no idea they were gone. They didn't have bodies. And in a country like Thailand, where it's a Buddhist philosophy, where they believe in reincarnation, where they understand and no one's ever told that you're not seeing things or that they're not there, they had a whole countrywide meditation or prayer session, and the monks in every single Buddhist temple in the country all held the gathering, and the sounds and and the chants and the bells ringing. And it was all a united effort to open the doorway, a giant passageway for transition and to move on. And the people, the family members, participated in the thought of where their family would go next to a higher birth. There were conscious celebration in the house, holds with food, and all the food that they shared, they made their people's favorite, their family members' favorite foods. And countrywide, people came to the shores where the most people had died, and the houses were lost, and the places and ability to cook were lost. So people moved across the whole country to bring a feast, and it was a whole celebration of all the dead moving on to a better life. And they fed the spirits of the ocean, and they calmed the seas all around them. And there was no mourning. There was happiness and good feeling about the united effort that had released these spirits and cleansed the earth. And it's just a whole different way of being, and that's the kind of thing that we need to do in these battle-torn areas. So often we're finding people, women especially, more sensitive, not able to sleep, less and less ability to sleep, to relax, to turn off the mind. And we're turning, as the earth turns, into the places in the Middle East where people are dying and the dead are still wandering and not moving on. So I just put that out there for an awareness and a united effort to make a difference on the earth plane for the people that still live here and still walk the earth plane.
I agree with you, Michelle. I agree with you, and that is the whole thing with all of this out at Montauk. And Maia, I know that you probably have a lot to say about that as far as everyone trying to come together out there to bring the light back to that area. It's been so misused, the energy out there. And Maia, I know that you might want to say about the healing, the call out there to all the light workers to come. To come.
Well, this is a good place to affect the planet in a very big way because this is connected to like almost anywhere on the planet. You do this, you don't have to go all over the place. You don't have to go to the pyramids or to Mount Shasta or what. This is like a main point on the Earth grid, and you can affect change with just this one little point. That's the thing. And so it's less effort. I mean, of course, it's not as fun, going all over the place. It's less expensive. And if you get a small cohesive group, pretty much the same purpose. Because I've often gone there on my own in the past, and I've done my own, healing there. Mm-hmm. And there were some, nasty energies there where it just was felt like death and smelled like it. Really bad, and that's been cleared out. And when I went there the first time, and I added a lot of I can ground a lot of energy, and I can actually split off when I go there to the cross point. It's like I'm almost physical there as well as in my body. So it's like I can ground a lot of energy in them, and I've done that and had some interesting results. That it's all possible, with people who are really strong light workers. Because somebody else who's easily frightened or something, maybe not a good idea. Somebody's extremely vulnerable, perhaps not. But people who are really experienced, I say.
I would say light warriors is what.
Yeah, there you go.
For Montauk.
Yes, you got to use.
That's great. I like that too.
Tough love and really, really strong light, like a first ray kind of light, if you know what that is.
Wow.
That's purification.
Well, just talking about this, and I've never been to Montauk, but I'm just visualizing it in my mind and seeing light warriors in the physical body, and then a circle of spiritual warriors above that. And, just if we're just saying this, I think we're helping to shift the energy. If the listeners can just visualize that as well right now, it's the power of uniting our focus and intention just even in this moment, can make a difference.
Absolutely, Antara.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What is it, the tools that you've discussed on Earth Wisdom, Antara, could really be utilized there at Montauk. And, maybe this is a great way for Other Worlds Radio to be used tonight, to put out that call, to send that energetic energy to that area. Go ahead, Antara.
Yeah, well, what it symbolizes to me, this whole subject of abuse, misuse of power, of manipulation, all those misuses of power. If you can use it, as Maia's saying, you just have to go there because of such a, she knows from personal experience the power that exists in that place. What effect it could have on the world. And I also want to bring up and ask Maia about this. What do you think, in these times where there's so much talk about the cabal is falling, the Illuminati, all these dark forces are fleeing and they're losing their power, and, have you heard all those stories? And
yeah, read them too.
Yeah, and if so, does that mean, does that apply to Montauk? Are those dark forces that work underground or in other places? What is your hit on that? Do you think that those places are actually being affected?
I have quite a few thoughts. Well, changing the energy there could actually take power away from them. That's one thing. Pulling out the rug out from under them, perhaps. It could help if you get people who are coherent enough with each other, which is really difficult to do. The other thing is some of these reports, I just wonder if some of it is some sort of gatekeeper stuff where, it's like, okay, somebody's doing the work, nothing to see, you don't have to do anything, it's being taken care of, and really we're the ones who have to take care of it. Or it could be something else, the energies are shifting on a higher level, and so it's not totally apparent in the physical yet, but it's kind of true and not true at the same time. So these are alternate explanations. We have a part to play. I think we should just sit back. It's not a spectator sport. His life is not bad.
Indeed.
I
should know, and we all should know.
Yeah. Right. And it's almost in the name of those who suffered, and as you know personally how many people have suffered, and all the other places on the planet, there's so much lifting of energy that we can do when we focus our minds and call in the light and ask for assistance from on high, to help us with that. And I think we all have that as our goal, all people who are light workers and on the path, that we want to do that, At some point, the world does change, and it's changing because we're changing, so.
Yes.
It's the only way it happens is ourselves changing ourselves, pretty much, and then the outer changes.
Yeah, and that. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Maia.
No, go ahead.
I think in perspective, what this whole topic, it can upset certain people, and most people don't want to look at the amount of suffering and abuse that happens that humans are capable of. But you know what? I think, as I've walked my own journey, that I think it's so important to shine the light on it and put our awareness on it and look at it. As much as we don't really, a part of us cringes and doesn't want to acknowledge these parts of life. We have to I think the power of our awareness is the light that dissipates, and of course, that's the first step. And whatever, there's many levels, but the first step is to acknowledge it and send love, and whatever we can do for the, how many generations has this been going on, Maya? For all those lost generations and beings who are stuck.
Yeah. There are how many millennia or whatever. It's been going on a long time, in one form or another. And so, or probably even before the Illuminati or whatever, whoever really it is. Yes. One thing I like how they talk about, the Antichrist is going to rule, but, in Revelations, I just think, when has the Christ ever really ruled yet? I mean, has it ever ruled during history? Ever? He's been the Antichrist all along. What a deception.
I think it's changing, though, Maya. In our lifetime, it's changing.
Ladies, we have callers. We had callers that are waiting in the queue so patiently. And I'd love to get a caller on here with your permission.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, wonderful. Caller at area code 516. You're on live on Other World Radio with Maya.
Hi, Maya. This is Peter Moon.
Oh, hey, Peter. So good to hear you.
Hi there, Peter.
Hey, Peter.
It was nice to hear your story. I don't know if it was nice, but it was informative.
And so much more.
I would like to add to corroborate your story is that, just to tell the audience that Maya was the first person who ever wrote in from when the Montauk Project was written, ever wrote in and claimed to be a part of the project. Of course, we knew several people locally who were part of the project, but she was the first one to write in, and that's how I met her. And I took her out to Preston Nichols, where she alluded to earlier. I did not hear the first program where he had her on this device, the mind amplifier, which he said if somebody would, if the music would back up when he was playing Swan Lake, it was an indication that they had time experiences. And sure enough, she did. And as she was listening to it, he was pointing to me very animatedly to pointing at her hand, and I couldn't see what it was, and I didn't come to look because I would have had to fall all over her. It was a pretty closed room, small room. And then later I said, what was it? He said, her hand disappeared. And that's, you were talking earlier about that. Preston saw her hand disappeared. But then several weeks after that, after I got to know her a bit better, and she came to a psychotronics meeting in Farmingdale, I was sitting outside with Frank, who was another experiencer in the Montauk chair, and we were sitting outside, and we saw her drive to the parking lot in the back. We saw her come around, and before she could have logically gotten out of her car and come and walked back, she walked like there was like a time lapse. It was too quick. You can't go back and park that fast. And then when I queried her about it, I went upstairs and realized it was strange, and I asked her, and she says, well, I saw you. No, you're wrong, because you were parked in your car. I saw you when I got in, and but this was quite incorrect to my perception, because when I was the first one there was no cars parked there, so she couldn't possibly have seen me. So there was a time anomaly there. It was a definite time anomaly that obviously Frank and I had witnessed, and then she had witnessed personally, but from a different set of reference frames. So
and they were both right. Sorry.
Well, yes, but see, Maya is the only person since I've been involved. There might be some other phenomena. I've seen other strange poltergeist phenomena around her where I have seen a time anomaly like that. It was just clear and blatant. And, of course, certain people said that she was not involved. There were no Montauk Girls, and, she's clear evidence. I've always supported her claims just because I know her pretty well, and I just wanted to add that to the audience. And all the research I've done in the time, this is about the only thing I've ever witnessed where a real time anomaly happened.
Yeah, and that was not the only time. Also, there was that time with the knocking.
Well, that wasn't really. Well, yeah, She came to my house on August 11th to go to Montauk, and knocked on the door. I was at the computer typing one of the books, and I heard the door knock, and I said, "Come in." And she didn't come in, and I got irritated. I said, "Come in," and I went to the door, and I saw that she was out in her car. She hadn't even approached the door. Then it happened.
Wow.
Then it happened again. Then it happened again. I said, "Come in, get up and go to the door." And there's no Maia there. She's still out in the car. The third time, she knocks on the door, and I say, "Come in," and she did come in. It just occurred to me as I'm telling you this now, but maybe she wasn't even there the first two times. Maybe I was seeing a projection of her. I always assumed that I was hearing a poltergeist sort of knock effect before she got there. Yeah, that was an anomaly in time. And when we went out to Montauk the next day on August 12th, there were three synchronicities in total. She said they come in threes. And the second one
like
was...
the three knocks you just had.
Yeah. She said, Maia, after the second one occurred, it was meeting this woman named Sue, who turned out to be Sue Parsons, who was the niece of Ralph Parsons, the head of the Parsons Corporation that does all the underground work. And that corporation actually came out and did the refit of Montauk. They came out and cleansed the base. What do they call it? Supposedly got rid of all the toxicity, which they did not do, but they were contracted to do it. So, and that is, of course, synonymous with the Jack Parsons. You know, the synchronicities came. That was another experience with her as well.
And the date, Peter?
August 11th, August 12th, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he was looking for a dead Parsons, actually, as I recall, for a graveyard or something, and we found a live Parsons among us. I mean, that was
we went to, I'd been to, there was a grave site for the Parsons family that my friend Corey had directed me to. And we were looking for a dead Parsons, and we found, we just picked up a Sue. We didn't know her name was Parsons. And when I got done,
like your great uncle or something.
Yeah, when I got done telling her all the Parsons synchronicities, she says, "I can't believe what you're saying about my Uncle Ralph," because Marjorie Cameron from the Babylon Working had gone to work at the Parsons Corporation in Pasadena, and you know, they had a lot of odd things there, and you know, it's a very strange company which does all the contracting for underground stuff around the world. They're huge, but very under the table private company.
Yeah, so this is the funnier side of time travel.
Well, thank you.
The lighter side.
Yeah, thank you, Peter, for calling
Thank you.
Thank you. I've enjoyed the show. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Peter.
Bye.
Wow. Well, you heard that, world.
That was fun.
That is amazing.
Yeah, the threes are interesting, like the three knocks. That's very big in UFO lore. It's actually, Whitley Strieber used to write about that. I find that interesting.
Oh, and the date of it as well, you know, August.
Yeah, that was the one time I went out with him to Montauk, and that's when Stuart Swerdlow first spoke too. Wow.
Well, Maia, one thing for sure, in our last 5 minutes with you, it's been an amazing journey that you've taken us on tonight. And Michelle, I want to give you and Tara the ability to get your questions in too before we have to close out the show tonight. This has been amazing, Maia.
Oh yes, I mean, we should just scratch the surface yet again.
Indeed.
Yeah, I bet your stories are just, I could listen forever to all the stories that you've got.
I can always tell more if we have this thing out in Montauk.
Oh, right.
Montauk, and you can hear more.
Yeah, Sandy, are you going to do a tour or something? Or
actually, what we have discussed with amongst Maia, author Peter Moon, and myself is having a gathering of individuals who are, just like what we were talking about, who want to go out to Montauk to help with the energy out there. This might be the last gathering for a while that we're able to do. Yeah, it might be. So we would invite everyone that, if you feel moved within your heart, that want to help us out there as far as clearing the energy. We sure need some light warriors out there. Write me at Sandra@sacredspirittours.com. That's Sandra@sacredspirittours.com. Maia is going to be out there doing what she does best as far as wonderful energy work.
And sharing what I've been gifted from Spirit, which is another counteractive.
Indeed, indeed. Michelle, did you want to also?
I'm so new to all this.
Okay.
I'm just hanging in here.
All right.
Enjoying all of the energy.
All right. Well, Maia, as some parting thoughts, I want to say that it took you tremendous courage for you to come on Other World Radio tonight and share your story. And I want to thank you for that courage, because I hope that, with your testimony, that it will give those women who are out there that you call Montauk Girls the courage also to step forward. Because the healing can happen. You see it with Maia. You hear it in Maia. It can happen. And love is so, so powerful. It's so powerful. You do have a choice. Isn't that right, Maia?
Yeah, and it's always good to get a nice support network around you, and I think I have. And thank you, Sandra. You've been very good supporting, and Peter, and all that. And also, I wanted one little plug.
Please do.
I started a blog, too. So if anybody wants to, visit that, it's new. So, there's a couple little posts on it. There'll be more. And it's montaukgirl.wordpress.com. So if you want to learn more, and I'll be posting. Maybe irregular, there'll be posts. And updates on too, the possible gathering and other related things.
That's exciting. Can you repeat that address, Montauk Girl?
.wordpress.com.
Okay.
Yeah, no dub.
Okay, so that's montaukgirls.wordpress.com.
Maia? Yeah, that's singular, not plural.
All right. Well, Maia, thank you so much for sharing your incredible story with us in this part 2.
Yes, and my little bit of it, my own clumsy way.
Oh, no.
Well, I'm sure that the story will continue, and you're more than welcome to come back to Other World Radio to share your additional journeys with us.
Yes, and yes, I'd be glad to.
Okay, my friend. Be well. Be safe.
All right. You too. Thank you, all of you.
Thank you so much, Maia. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thanks for listening. Thank you very much, too.
Okay.
Okay, sister.